Okay, so in this video, we're going to discuss Splunk installation. We'll start by just looking at an overview of Splunk installation, basically some of the requirements in order to install Splunk. And then afterwards, we'll go ahead and see how you install Splunk on different operating systems. So let's look at some of the things that you need to know in order to install Splunk Enterprise. The first one here is that Splunk supports 3 default operating systems. So you can install Splunk on Windows, you can install Splunk on Linux, and as well as you can install Splunk on a Mac OS operating system. The second one is the machine type. So you can install Splunk on a physical machine. It could just be a physical server, a workstation. It could just be your laptop. And then the other thing is that you can use a virtual machine as well. So during our demonstrations, we're going to see how we install Splunk on Windows, basically using our laptop. And then we're going to install Splunk on an AWS EC2 instance that's running Mac OS. And then we're going to install Splunk as well on an Azure virtual machine, that is running Ubuntu Linux. And the third one, of course, you can use a Docker container installation as well. Now, what are the packages that are available? The major package that you're going to need is the Splunk Enterprise trial version. So here we are doing the trial version. That's what you're going to be able to download from the Splunk website and install. And we said before that when you do this installation, it's going to be configured automatically. It's going to come as an indexer and a search head. The second package we saw is the Universal Forwarder. We said the Universal Forwarder is not a full Splunk Enterprise installation because we said you install Splunk Enterprise and you can configure it to function as any of the components that we saw before: indexer, search head, deployment server, all the components that we spoke about. But for the Universal Forwarder, it's a different situation here because you have a separate package for it. And then another thing that you need to know is that for you to be able to download and install Splunk, you need to have an account on Splunk.com. Okay, so now let's look at how we download Splunk Enterprise. The first thing you just have to do is that you have to connect to Splunk.com directly, or you search Splunk free trials and downloads on your Google search, for example. So if you connect to Splunk.com, you can just click on free Splunk. It's going to take you to the same place that using Splunk free trials and downloads is going to take you. And then the second thing now for you is to log into your Splunk account. So if you have a Splunk.com account already, you can just log into that account. If you don't have an account, then you have to create one. Then the next thing after you create your account and log in, or you log into your account if you already had one, then you're going to see these tabs here that shows you the default operating systems that we just spoke about. So you're going to see your Windows, you're going to see Linux, and then you're going to see Mac OS. Now, if you want to install Windows, then you're going to click on Windows. Then it's going to give you, this MSI package there. And then after that, what else do you do? The next thing you have to do is just to download your package. So you download your package and then you're going to go ahead and do the installation. We're going to demonstrate how you do the installation on those 3 default operating systems. An important thing here, let's look at some of the limits that are associated with the trial license. So when you go here and download Splunk Enterprise and you're trying it, it's not like all the features are going to be open for you forever, because in that case, Splunk is not going to make any money, of course. So what you need to know is that there are limits that are associated with this trial license. You can only index up to 500 meg per day. You remember that when we spoke about Splunk deployment, we said that for a single instance deployment, you can index up to 20 gigabytes of data per day. But with this trial version, it's only 500 meg. If you start going beyond that, you're going to get license warnings and there's a chance that a search can be stopped. And then you can try it for 60 days. So what this means is for 60 days, all the features are going to be open for you to use in Splunk, because you're basically just trying. You want to see if this really works before you go ahead and purchase it. So after that 60 days, 2 things can happen. If you are happy with Splunk, you can go back to Splunk sales now and say, okay, yeah, I want to get a deployment. Maybe you go back to any of those deployments that we spoke about. You're going to have all those characteristics that come into play, such as volume of ingestion, such as concurrent users, such as number and type of searches and things like that. And then maybe you're going to say, oh yeah, I just need a small enterprise deployment and so on. But all that is going to happen through Splunk sales. Now, the other thing is, if you are not ready to purchase and you still want to continue using Splunk, then this license can convert to a free license after 60 days. But the problem with the free license is that some of the features will no longer be available. Now, what are the examples? Authentication. You know how when you go into something, you have to log in, put a username and password. You're not going to have it again with free Splunk, even though you're still going to be able to do some basic stuff. Another thing is alerting. So if you are using your instance to send alerts somewhere, And then after that 60 days, you don't really purchase Splunk. Your free trial is done. You're not going to be able to send alerts anymore. And then another thing is indexer clustering. So we talked about indexer clustering. You cannot cluster indexes on a free Splunk. So if your instance is free Splunk, you cannot use it as part of a cluster. So there are other things as well that are disabled when you have the free license. So I just wanted to point this out. So when you have this installation, know that the features are going to be available for you. And then after 60 days, you will notice that some features are no longer going to be there.